breaking news in the world of fine arts. Lisa Schiff was sentenced to 2.5 years for diverting funds from her company, Schiff Fine Arts, into her personal account. More to come.
Picture this: champagne waterfalls, immaculately dressed people left and right, hundreds of beautiful artworks, luxuries, prestige, and wealth beyond imagination. Millions of dollars being exchanged like it's nothing. The only thing keeping the whole system secure, the trust of a mere signature on a piece of paper. Belief and unflinching trust in contracts and the faces on currency. But what happens when that trust is abused? Enter Lisa Schiff, a highly respected fine art advisor who has worked with countless high-end clients to help them navigate the world of aesthetic tastes and investment. She's worked with Hollywood stars like Leonardo DiCaprio, countless rich multimillionaires, and many rich people. And with each of them, she has been fraudulent, abusing her station as a trusted advisor to secretly steal from or muscle people out of their money. For 5 years, she's been the perfect insider who's been stealing from the rich only to pocket it for herself. Justice isn't blind. She has recently been arrested and is now facing trial for her actions. This case brings up many questions about that nature of trust and belief. Is it good for us to trust professionals? Can we believe in our systems to punish them fairly? And will the victims of this case get the justice they seek? Price tags that could buy islands, champagne, gold, and luxuries galore. This is the art world, a playground for the elite where the value of artistry and passion of the craft, a finite and valuable resources to be bought and sold. With paintings easily selling for up to 1 million, the stakes are high. Because of this, art advisors, auction houses, and organized systems to properly handle the exchange of art exist. However, what happens when someone tries to exploit these systems? Think about how easy it would be. If you were an art advisor in this world, all you'd need to do is take the existing system and use the veil of systemic trust and professionalism as a way to make yourself trustworthy. Like how doctors used to sell people cigarettes, knowing full well that it caused every form of cancer. All an art advisor would need to do to abuse their power would be to simply act professionally and give out some amount of genuine advice, so their fake advice or illegal actions seem like mistakes or slip-ups. This isn't something you need to imagine. Lisa Schiff was a fine art advisor for a firm specializing in contemporary art. When working with a large and trusted firm, she was in contact with many rich and influential people. Politicians, millionaires, billionaires, big money accountants, and even actors. It's common practice for actors to invest in fine art. It's easy to sell and it retains its value fairly well, and there's a good chance that the value of whatever you bought will go up with time. Because of that, if you hold on to a piece and sell it later, you can turn an easy profit with an item that is fairly liquid, because it only takes a week or two to put the item up for auction and have the item sold. One of her most notable clients was Leonardo DiCaprio. She was his advisor for 5 years between 2013 and 2018. During this time, she would use her position to engage in fraudulent activities and make a quick buck off of Leonardo. This was done in a few ways, generally speaking. She either sold the art without consent, kept the proceeds, or accepted payments for art purchases that never made. How did she react after she was finally taken to court for her actions? Many manipulators have a range of reactions: lying, denial, gaslighting. These are all methods to avoid responsibility for their actions. Many people may know what they've done and may not choose to allow themselves to acknowledge this. However, this is an exceptional case. Every part of it. An exceptional abuse of power by an exceptional abuser of power who was able to get away with this for 5 years. And an exception in terms of their ability to take responsibility for their actions. In October 2024, Schiff pleaded guilty to wire fraud, admitting to defrauding over a dozen clients, including artists' estates and galleries. Financial fraud is a serious crime. Unlike murder or any personal-level crime, financial fraud hits us in a way which isn't visible to others. Because of that, it's easy to forget the fact that people's lives are being ruined by these crimes. People can be sent into homelessness or bankruptcy because of financial fraud. And the effects of those things on people's lives are hard to describe. The sheer trauma that poverty can cause people is maddening, especially for those in the fine arts who have never undergone such conditions. With such a serious crime with so many people, and so many people affected by her unfiltered greed, she is to be punished in proportion to her crime. Several factors affect the punishment given out in these cases. The amount of money stolen, how many people were affected by the crime, the intent of the crime and deception, the role of the perpetrator in the scheme, and most importantly, cooperation with the authorities. As you might have gathered, Schiff has shown that time and time again she is cooperating with authorities and taking into account for her actions. This might sway the punishment of her actions towards being more lenient. With that, she has agreed to forfeit approximately $6.5 million and to pay over $9 million in restitution fees. This ability to not only own up to what she did, but take responsibility and try to pay back for the harm she has caused other people displays both a lapse in morality as well as a strength in character, displaying strong values and self-awareness. Is she as honest as she appears? Think about it. The type of person who's willing to hurt so many people for so long just for her gain is likely not the type of person to have very strong morals and strength of character. In a sense, it's a logical contradiction. Showing dishonesty and stealing and then showing honesty as owning up to your actions is often not sincere. And in this situation, it's important to question her motives because, despite facing a potential 20-year sentence, her plea agreement recommended a prison term of between 3.5 and 4.25 years. For anyone who isn't familiar with the law, that's an insane reduction in her sentencing. They are willing to quarter the intensity of her sentence as a plea deal. This may suggest some kind of strange internal dealings, which we may or may not be privy to. Despite her complicated nature, it's important to know that, despite it all, Schiff is still human. She may seem honest one moment, questionable in another moment, and downright evil at another. But it's important to know that, like anyone, she is capable of remorse and regret. And to some extent, she did likely feel some kind of guilt for her actions. The reason for this is that she showed herself apologizing to the victims of her crimes, some of whom were her close friends. This must have been emotionally confusing for the people who were affected by it. One moment, she's swindling you, and the next, she's apologizing profusely. However, people are contradictory. It's important to ignore this and understand the facts of what she did. She committed a horrible financial fraud which will ruin the lives of many people. Regardless of her regret, she can't undo what she did. The damage she caused will never be undone with words alone. This seemingly complex narrative might be more straightforward than initially thought. If we were to get responses from her victims, we could get a real understanding of whether she is being dishonest within the context of people who were able to witness her as she committed the crimes that she committed. And one of the victims that was affected by her actions was one victim, Michael Barash, who highlighted the deep personal betrayal, noting the emotional and financial toll of her actions. This crime deeply affected her because someone who he thought was a friend ended up being someone who was looking to exploit him for his money and nothing else, resulting in nothing but losses for him. Judge J. Paul Oetken acknowledged Schiff's actions as being complicated, because she has shown and displayed many deep and personally positive attributes, which make her into someone that is seemingly trustworthy and honest. The tolls and effects of her actions make the way she carried herself and the actions themselves into something quite brazen. Schiff is scheduled to begin her prison term on July 1st, 2025. Lisa Schiff's case is a striking example of how trust and professionalism can be weaponized for personal gain. The art world, with its high-value transactions and close-knit circles of influence, became the perfect setting for her deception. By exploiting the confidence placed in her by wealthy and influential clients, she was able to manipulate the system for years before finally facing justice. Her crimes were not simply financial missteps, but deliberate betrayals of those who relied on her expertise and integrity. Her willingness to plead guilty and express remorse complicates the narrative. Is it genuine accountability, or just another calculated move to secure a reduced sentence? While her admission of guilt may suggest some level of regret, it is difficult to ignore the fact that she only took responsibility after being caught. True remorse is often reflected in an attempt to make amends before legal pressure demands it. Yet Schiff's fraudulent activities continued unchecked for years. Regardless of intent, The consequences of her fraud are irreversible. Lives were impacted, friendships were shattered, and trust in the art advisory industry was further eroded. Schiff's case also serves as a reminder of the flaws within the art world, where vast sums of money exchange hands based largely on trust, reputation, and exclusivity. This insular nature makes it particularly vulnerable to manipulation, as seen in this case. With so much secrecy and a lack of regulation, fraudulent schemes can thrive undetected for years. The question remains, how many other art advisors or brokers might be engaging in similar deception? Schiff is just one example, but her case may prompt collectors and investors to scrutinize the industry more closely. As Schiff prepares to serve her sentence, the story serves as both a cautionary tale and a reflection on human nature. How greed can drive even the most trusted individuals to deception, and how, despite apologies, actions always speak louder than words. The legal system has held her accountable to some degree, but for those who were defrauded, justice will never fully restore what was lost. The financial damages may eventually be repaid, but the betrayal of trust will leave lasting scars. Her story is not just about fraud. It is about the power of perception, the ease of manipulation, and the cost of misplaced trust in a world where money often speaks louder than morals.